Hello and welcome back to Football Daily, where we are looking at 10 games that saved a club. Promotion, relegation and scandal, we've got it all here. Let's go. 10. Everton vs Wimbledon 1993-94. Everton have been part of English football's top tier for the last 66 years. But in 1993-94, they came dangerously close to dropping out of the Premier League. They may have been one of the traditional Big Five responsible for creating the breakaway division just a year earlier, but a terrible campaign had seen them staring at a return to the Football League. That season, the Toffees almost sleepwalked towards relegation. In December, with the club comfortably in 11th, their manager Howard Kendall resigned after an argument over signing Dion Dublin. Former Norwich City boss Mike Walker came in, but Everton continued their freefall down the table. On the final day of the season, they occupied the final relegation spot, with a big win over Wimbledon needed to keep them alive. The club were in such shock, no player reportedly agreed to be the allocated penalty taker, with the responsibilities being forced on Graham Stewart. Sure enough, a penalty is what they would get, but Stewart held his nerve to slot home. Two more crucial goals followed as Everton dragged themselves to safety and brought their nightmare to an end. 9. Man United vs Nottingham Forest 1989-90. Often dubbed the goal that saved Sir Alex Ferguson's career, Mark Robins' winner at Nottingham Forest in 1990 is widely thanked for kick-starting the 23 years of Man United domination that followed. While Ferguson is considered one of the greatest managers in football history, back then his job was under threat. The Scottish manager joined United in November 1986 and was initially successful in steadying the club. But by the 1989-90 season, many fans were growing tired of his methods, especially considering they had spent big on players like Paul Ince, Mike Phelan and Gary Pallister. In what he later described as the darkest period he had ever suffered in the game, United went into their FA Cup third-round tie with Forest off the back of 7 games without a win, including a 5-1 humiliation at the hands of local rivals Man City. In fact, many believed Ferguson would lose his job should they lose to a high-flying Forest. But Mark Robins headed home to give the Red Devils a narrow 1-0 victory, sparking a run that took them all the way to the final, where they would beat Crystal Palace. Whether Ferguson would have really been fired, we will never know, but had Robins not scored that goal, that dark period would have only got darker. Before we move on to our next match, just a quick reminder to, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss another great Football Daily video. Trust me, you will not regret it. 8. Torquay United v Crewe Alexandra 1987-88. Torquay United escaped demotion from the Football League after one of the most bizarre final day matches in the English game. Stuck in the last automatic relegation spot, they faced Crewe Alexandra at home, but things got off to a bad start when they fell behind early. Subsequently, the atmosphere at the sold-out Plainmoor Stadium turned sour, prompting police dogs and their handlers to appear, and somehow this would prove to be vital to the game. From 2-0 down, Torquay rallied to 2-1, when news broke that an equaliser was all they needed to beat the drop. With the crowd frenzied again, the police dogs reappeared. In extraordinary scenes, one managed to escape his handler, biting Torquay keeper Jim McNichols on the thigh and bringing the game to a grinding halt. In the extended injury time that followed, the goals managed to equalise, sending Lincoln City down and giving local hero status to Bryn the police dog. Not only that, but within 4 years, the Devonshire club had beaten Tottenham Hotspur in a League Cup tie, made 2 trips to Wembley and even been promoted. Had that dog not bitten McNichols, none of it may have happened. 7. Manchester City v Gillingham 1998-99. Today, Manchester City are an undisputed powerhouse of English and world football. But none of that would have been possible if it wasn't for Paul Dickov's legendary goal that propelled them to victory over Gillingham in the Division 2 playoffs back in 1999. 21 years ago, the Sky Blues knew that if they didn't manage to wrestle themselves out of England's 3rd division, then their future would be murky and unclear, with the fans reportedly reaching the end of their tether. And trailing 2-0 with 4 minutes left, it appeared their worst fears would be realised. But Kevin Horlock managed to pull one back on the 89th minute, setting up a grandstand finish. Just when all seemed lost, the ball dropped to Dickov, who smashed home, lunging into a knee slide that has remained the iconic symbol representing the Citizens' rise in English football. They would go on to win 3-2 on penalties, beginning their ascension back up the leagues. It goes without saying that Sheikh Mansour's £1 billion plus investment in the club may never have occurred were it not for that victory at Wembley Stadium. To this day, any new signing is educated on the importance of that win, while Dickov has been ingrained into City folklore. 6. Bayern Munich benefit matches. Bayern Munich may be the big stack bullies of the Bundesliga, but on countless occasions they have been shown the value and importance of sharing the wealth in football. For over 15 years, the Bavarian side have taken part in benefit matches against the German clubs most in need of financial support. All the income from the matches goes to the struggling side, providing a vital source of cash. It first happened in 2003 when they played an FC San Pauli side facing liquidation, having been relegated from the Bundesliga. And the most recent example occurred in May 2019 when they faced former German giants FC Kaiserslautern. Now languishing in the third tier of German football, the game contributed towards the Red Devils gaining the licence needed to stay in existence. When asked why they decided to help, Bayern chairman Karl-Heinz Rummenigge said, "For many years there were intense and in retrospect also legendary Bayern matches at Kaiserslautern. Football is about emotions and sporting rivalries, but also about solidarity. That's why we're happy to help and hope Kaiserslautern can once again gain promotion back to the Bundesliga in the foreseeable future." If only more big clubs shared the same values as Bayern Munich. 5. West Bromwich Albion v Portsmouth 2004-05. There are few great escapes in English football more famous than West Brom's Premier League survival in 2005. The first club to ever survive the drop after being bottom on Christmas Day, an extraordinary selection of results dragged the Baggies to safety by the narrowest of margins. Led by Brian Robson, West Brom knew not even a win at home to Portsmouth on the final day of the 2004-05 season would be enough to secure safety. They raced to a 2-0 lead in the second half, thanks to goals from Jeffrey Horsfield and Kieran Richardson, and comfortable defeats for Norwich City and Southampton meant the crowds at the Hawthorns believed the great escape was on. Crystal Palace were winning at Charlton, meaning that as things stood, they were still going down. However, in the final 10 minutes, news broke out that the Addicts had equalised, causing pandemonium to break out in the home stands. As the full-time whistle rang, the entire stadium waited in anticipation for news from London. The draw was confirmed, sparking a full-on party among Baggies players and fans alike. Incredibly, West Brom were the only side in the bottom four to win on the final day, surviving on just 34 points. 4. Newport County v Leeds United. A classic example of how important the FA Cup can be for lower league sides came in a third round tie between Newport County and Leeds United during the 2017-18 season. The League Two side upset their championship rivals 2-1 thanks to Sean Mikulski's winner, setting up a fourth round tie with Premier League giants Tottenham Hotspur. A game which their manager Mike Flynn said may save the side from financial ruin. They would draw 1-1 with Maurizio Pochettino's side at Rodney Parade before seeing their run ended in a lucrative 2-0 defeat in the replay at Wembley Stadium. Their journey to the fourth round meant the Welsh club would post a profit in the next financial year. That was after they had incurred losses of over £350,000 for the previous year after poor performances on and off the field plagued the club. Had that figure not been rectified with the cup run, Newport County could have been pushed perilously close to the brink of collapse. Today, the bigger clubs may be pushing for the FA to scrap cup replays, but their importance to the smaller sides who need them most should not be understated. 3. Manchester City v Fulham 2007-08. In April 2008, Fulham saved their Premier League season thanks to an extraordinary comeback away to Manchester City. Trailing 2-0 with 20 minutes to go, Roy Hodgson's side were technically relegated, but the future England manager made a decision that would prove critical. He subbed on Diamansi Camara, who within 2 minutes had made it 2-1. 11 minutes later it was 2-2, captain Danny Murphy missing his original penalty but slamming home the rebound. But Fulham were still heading down and needed a miracle as the clock went deep into injury time. The Cameroonian raced free of the City defence and managed to beat Joe Hart 1-on-1, sealing the win with the last kick of the game. Despite the result, the London side remained 3 points behind Reading in 17th with 2 games to play. However, victories at home to Birmingham City and at Portsmouth on the final day proved enough, as they scraped to safety on goal difference, having picked up 17 points from their final 10 games. 4 years later, Hodgson took the Cottagers to their first European final, though it would have never happened were it not for that famous win in Manchester. 2. Genoa v Venezia 2004-05. The 2004-05 Serie B season is a chaotic story of corruption and financial mismanagement, with Italian minnows Catanzaro surviving relegation in one of the strangest fashions ever. With one game left to play, just 2 points separated the top 4 teams. Genoa had topped the table for the majority of the season, but 7 draws in 9 games had put their automatic promotion chances under threat. They faced relegation-bound Venezia, who had happened to be crippled with debt. Not willing to take any chances, the Griffins decided to tap up the Venetians. They won 3-2, but when Italian police spotted Venezia General Director Giuseppe Pagliari leaving Genoa's business headquarters with a suitcase containing £250,000, suspicions were raised. The resulting court case, known as Caso Genoa, caused havoc in the division. The Serie B winners were automatically relegated, along with Venezia, who would eventually fold. Torino, who had finished in the second automatic promotion spot, were unable to pay for the appropriate licence to join Serie A, and had to rejoin Serie B under a new name. Meanwhile, third place Perugia and 13th place Salernitana were both automatically relegated after being unable to financially continue. When the dust settled, Catanzaro, who had finished flat last by some margin, were kept in Serie B. Ironically, with Empoli losing to Bari on the final day, Genoa didn't even need to tap up Venezia. 1. Carlisle United v Plymouth Argyle 1998-99. The goal scored by Jimmy Glass to keep Carlisle United in the Football League back in May 1999 is probably the most famous finish by any keeper ever. But that isn't the whole story. In 1992, the Cumbrians had been taken over by Michael Knighton, a businessman best known for his failed attempt to buy Manchester United just 3 years earlier. His dream of turning Carlisle into a club capable of challenging the Red Devils, however, failed to materialise. By 1999, following a spell where Knighton had even installed himself as manager, the club was still stuck in a rebranded Division 2. Knighton himself may have sold the club, but he had remained there as chairman. And with the side staring down the barrel of relegation, his position at Brunton Park had never been so unpopular. Needing a win against Plymouth Argyle on the final day of the season, Carlisle lined up with Jimmy Glass in goal, a Swindon Town loanee who had only made 2 appearances for the club prior. With the game tied at 1-1 and in the dying moments of injury time, the ball dropped to Glass from a corner and he smashed home to send Brunton Park wild. Had he not scored, Knighton's position at the club would have gone beyond toxic and left Carlisle's future in doubt. It is widely considered one of the most brilliantly bizarre moments in British sport. So those were our 10 games that saved a club, but can you name any more? Let us know in the comments below, and who knows, we might do a part 2 sometime in the future. If you enjoyed this video, why not click on screen right now, as I'm sure it's another banger, and as always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you soon.